Okay, the first thing that we're gonna do is, here's our knot that we've made, and that's for just in case. We don't want it to slip through. I have just made a little bit of a loop here, and we're just gonna push this through and make a slip knot. Like that. So I'm gonna pull this down so you can determine the size of this first stitch, and that's what this is our first stitch. And the size of this is going to determine how tightly knitted the entire thing is, because you're going to want to stay with the same size. So I'm just going to reach 2 fingers through there and grab and make another little slip knot here. See that? We're just going to keep doing that. I'm just going to push that through. Made another little slip knot. And you're going to want to keep your stitches about the same. We're going to make, basically it looks like a chain that we're creating. So if you've ever crocheted, then this is basically the same as you would be doing with a crochet hook and your yarn. This first chain is going to be the inner circle that goes right up by the tree base. So depending on your tree size, if you get normally, let's say, a 6-foot tree, then you might want to go, which is probably about what I'm going to do. But if you have a small tree, like a little tabletop tree or something, then you would just scale this down. So it's easily adjusted for your size. So I have one chain and it is 25 stitches. And you can kind of measure what would work best for you when you lay it out, because this is going to be the inside that's right up against the base of the tree. So now that you're at the end here, this last stitch right here, ignore that stitch, pretend like it's not there, and you're going to start coming back through each one of these stitches. This is the top piece, so you want to make sure that it's laying in the right way, it's not twisted, and you're going to push your thread through and make a loop up here. You're going to do the same thing with each stitch. So you're going to pull it through, making sure that they're all around the same size, because you want your stitching to look nice and even. And you're just going to do this through the whole length of your chain. Okay, so once you get to the end, flip it over, and you are just going to do the same thing for each one of these loops you've created. You're just going to make another stitch on top of it. So each one of these loops, you're just going to pull your thread through, your yarn, and create another stitch. Okay, so when we get to the end here, what we're going to do, we've made our loop. What we're going to do is we're going to make a little loop like this, with just pinching the two pieces together and push them through that same hole. If you just made another loop, it would just cause this one to become unraveled. So we're just creating an extra stitch in the same last hole. And we're just going to go back through the exact same thing. We're going to go another row by just doing another stitch or another loop through each one of these loops. Okay, so when we get to the end, we're going to do the same thing again. So I'll show you. We'll create this last stitch. We just pull it through. But if we were to do that again, it's just making that one bigger. Do you see what I mean? It's not going to hold. It's not a separate stitch. So that's why you need to pinch these two together and then push it through the front and pull it through the back. So it's creating two separate loops there. So you need to create a second loop on each end, and that's going to create a wider band each time you go around. So we're just going to go ahead and keep doing this. Okay, just like before, when we get to the end, we're just going to make a little loop like this. We cannot go through and pull it through like we did the other ones because it's just going to pull this one out. So just going to make a little loop like this and push it through the front and then out the back. And it creates a little knot right there, so it's creating an extra chain. So then once we've got that, we're just going to go ahead and another row. Okay, as you can see, it's really looking like a blanket. I'm on my third skein of yarn, and I'm going to go ahead and connect my stitches on the ends. And how I'm going to do that, hopefully you can see, is each one of these loops I'm going to attach like this loop and this loop, the one that's right next to it. I'm going to put them together and I'm going to create another loop through that. This loop, the one that I just created, I'm going to put with the loop next to it and make another loop through it. Same thing with this loop. I'm going to connect it with this one and put a stitch through it. Connect those two, make a new loop through those two, connect to these. So you're just gonna keep doing this. This is your new stitch, is connecting the two loops that are next to each other and making your stitch through those. So that's creating this nice end here. So sometimes when you're doing this, it gets so big, more like a blanket, and I'm just going to pull this one free. So you might come across it and it looks like this. It looks like a loop here, but there's this thread sticking out, or this piece of yarn. It became unattached. So you just push it through that last loop, and that's where it was supposed to be. And it had just came loose, if that makes sense. So in case you run across that, that's what that is. Okay, so we get here to the end like that. And what you're going to do at this point is you are going to cut your thread like that, and you're going to tie, you've got this one loop left here, so you're just going to push the thread through the loop and it will create a knot just like that. So you have this little thread here, so I'm just going to create a knot at the end of it just like we had at the top. So what that is going to do, that we've got this loop here, remember, and this loop here. So when you put this around your tree, this looks just a little bit different right here, and it's very similar to the bottom. And this is because we were flipping it. When we first started, we flipped it over. So you could have this side or the other side. So what this is going to be is you can tie it to attach it around your tree. So that's just going to be your tie, basically. And the same thing at the bottom. I'm just going to leave this one here, and you can attach it at the bottom if you need to. I mean, you don't have to. If you don't want to have that, you can just cut that off. Okay, so I've got my piece of yarn here like this. I'm going to fold it in half to where it's a little loop, and you can see that I'm just kind of spacing it out. I'm not doing it exact. I'm not measuring exact. I'm going to find a little loop here and push my piece of yarn through so it's a loop, and I'm going to push these two tail pieces through that loop and pull it tight just to create a little slip knot there. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that all the way along the base. Okay, there we have it. This is how it looks under my tree. I love it. Very farmhouse looking. I had seen these at Walmart around $40, $50, and each spool of yarn costs $6.88, I believe. So just so much easier to make it yourself, and then it has meaning behind it. But hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.